Wow, inventory is piling up in Utah and nationwide. If we take a look at this right here, look at the separation that we are seeing between inventory to start the year here going into February compared to last year. We see that continuing to grow, much more inventory year over year. Now, why that's important is it's happening nationwide as well as locally here in our Utah housing market. Housing supply is piling up as home sellers enter the market, but buyers stay on the sidelines. And if we go to the next article, the typical home is taking nearly 2 months to sell. That's the slowest pace in the last 5 years. And now if we go to the next article, January brought more homes for sale, but fewer bought. Now I'm going to show you some data that I've compiled in an Excel sheet to show you where we're going and where the housing market is headed. I'm also going to dive deeper into this article to show you something that I've been saying for quite some time, that there is a bent up seller demand. All you hear about is the bent up buyer demand. When interest rates drop, buyers are going to flood the market. Well, the sellers are also going to flood the market because now they can afford things, and sellers have already started coming to the market. We're going to cover all of that. Right here, you see that. January brought more homes and fewer buyers. Now, before we get into that, smash that like button, help me get this video in front of more people. Make sure you subscribe because you're going to be notified when new videos drop. That way you can get new fresh data that's going to be available here locally in Utah and nationwide. And when you do need a realtor in Utah, remember, Dinko the Realtor has your back. My contact information is down below. Now, let's go over here and dive into this a little bit deeper. And right here, we see that the actives are 9,672 compared to 7,145, which is 35%. Now, keep in mind, I am recording this Wednesday night. That means we still have Thursday and Friday where inventory is going to be growing. Essentially, what happens every single week is inventory grows the fastest Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday it peaks, then it starts going down, and that's just because more under contracts, more new listings, but a net gain that we're seeing every single week is correlating to this gap over here. You see that it's not a straight line up, straight line down, because there's certain parts, certain days of the week where inventory, there's more new listings hitting the market, and then there's more going under contract. However, we have a net gain. And right now, last week, I think we were two units away from 9,700. That means we're probably going to be approaching 9,800 here shortly. And I'm going to show you why that's actually very important as we see under contracts continue staying negative year over year. We still haven't crossed the 4,000 threshold. That is going to happen. More homes are going to be going under contract as spring and summer come around, which is normal. Inventory is going to keep growing though still, because watch what's going on over here. I'm going to remove myself here so I'm not blocking anything. Now, if you look at this blue line over, or this blue dot to the left, you see that that is much higher. We've covered this. Now, if we go to this next one, you see that's going upwards. Look at the blue line compared to everything else. Look how much more inventory we have. Now I'm going to show you what I've compiled on an Excel data sheet of what happened in 2022 to prevent the housing market from continuing its downward trend. In 2022, we peaked at $600,000 for the median home price. May of 2022. After May of 2022, we saw nine consecutive months of price drops, all the way into January of 2023 to $510,000 for the median price. Drops of upwards of 15% of the median price in the Utah housing market. Now, why did prices go back up? And we've been in this trend where prices go up in the first half, down in the second half, up in the first half, and that's just been the trend ever since 2022. And in 2023, the highs that we experienced in the spring did not resemble the highs in 2022, and we've never reached those highs in 22. However, in 2024, the lows weren't as low as they were in 23, and the highs of the median price were higher than they were in 23. So the highs are every single year being a little bit higher than the previous, not reaching the highs of 22, and then the lows are less lower than the previous year, but not reaching the lows of January of 2023. And we're going to show you what prevented that from continuing. Now, this is important. Pay attention to what's going on with this inventory. You see that blue line right there. A lot more inventory, and you see it's not dipping like it has here in 23 and 24. It's continuing its streak upwards. Now, if we go over here and we access the data sheet, Right here, this is going to explain to you why prices did not continue dropping. And of course, Silicon Valley Bank got bailed out, American Republic Bank, whatever it's called, got bailed out, and student loans didn't resume. So they were stimulating the economy. And then, of course, we went over stuff in other videos where they were still using COVID money to prevent foreclosures, and that's going to be expiring here. Anyway, if you take a look at these listings, these are negative. Starting the year in 2023, compared to 2022, we started experiencing negative amount of new listings hitting the housing market. We see that here in June, we had less by 1,846 units hit less year over year in June of 2023 compared to June of 2022. And that, with the bailouts, prevented the housing market here locally and nationwide from continuing its downward trend, because we started seeing this new listing decrease happening nationwide. You have a local market, nationwide market, but the two kind of balance each other out and they follow certain stuff. So now, if we are seeing this increase here with this inventory much higher, and we're seeing the increase continuing to go up, well, where are we going to end the year when it comes to inventory? Well, if we go over here, another Excel data sheet that I've compiled, we see that we peaked at 10,400 units in October of 2022. Essentially, the housing market peaks sometime at the end of summer, sometime in the fall, depending on the year, and then it starts its way going downwards with inventory because listings are hitting at a lower pace. Winter's here, holidays are here, and then spring, inventory starts climbing its way back up. So we see that we peaked in 2022, in October 22, at 10,447. In 23, in October, we peaked at 9,698. Which essentially we had actually last week. I believe we were too shy, and so we matched 23 levels. Now in 2024, in September, we peaked at 11,412 units. Well, in 2025, we are already at 9,700 units, and we're going to be approaching this week, by the time Friday comes around, 9,800 units. You see that the inventory levels are way higher to start the year, and they're resembling what these years or previous years were resembling once we start peaking, which means if this continues happening and we keep seeing this inventory hitting at this faster of a pace, more new listings, where are we going to end the year? Are we going to end at 13,000 units available, 14,000 units available? What happens if unemployment goes up? What happens if we do start seeing foreclosures once the COVID money that's preventing foreclosure stops circulating, which would be, as of right now, the 30th of April, which FHA is allowing mitigation to bring loans current and then giving 25% off the principal and interest payment for 3 years. That's, people have until April 30th to file for that. Well, if that disappears and if unemployment goes up a little bit, those will be two whammies that we didn't have in these previous years, and we still have this much more inventory. So we could end up with a lot more inventory. And we see this. So where is this line going to end up? Is it going to be at this 12,000, 13,000? Is it going to be much higher than the rest of these years? And if we scroll up here, this is what I'm talking about. If you look right here at the top right, we had 4,458 listings entered in January, and we had 3,776 a year ago. And we're essentially at 3,000 almost here. We're going to cross 3,000 this week, which means we're going to have another month of over 4,000 new listings. And that is happening with a higher pace than last year, and we're seeing that under contracts are negative year over year. And if under contracts are negative year over year, and we are getting more inventory hitting the market, this spread over here could continue getting bigger as the year progresses. And if that happens, maybe we are not going to only be at 40% difference year over year. We might be 50%, 60%. I want you to comment down below where you think the housing market is headed, where you think the local Utah housing market, the nationwide housing market, what you see in the economy, if you think things are going to rebound and everything's going to recover, or if you think that there's going to be some pain. Also, my buyer's guide is completed. A ton more people signed up for it, and we have been sending those out. Make sure that you sign up for that. I'm going to post that link down below in the comment and in the description. And also, when you do need a realtor in Utah, whenever that is, this year, next year, remember, Dinko the Realtor has your back.